I deserve 50% of Summit Outfitters, my ex-wife told the judge. I sacrificed everything for his dream. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I just handed my attorney a single folder with proof she'd stolen $178,000 from the company. My name is Marcus Carter. I'm 41 years old. I started Summit Outfitters in my garage in Denver, Colorado, with just $5,000 of my savings, just me and a workbench, some fabric, a sewing machine I barely knew how to use. You know how people talk about humble beginnings? Well, mine were actually humble, not the kind where someone's parents bought them a store and called it starting from scratch. I mean, I was literally cutting fabric on my knees because I couldn't afford a proper table. First year, I slept maybe 4 hours a night, worked my regular job during the day, built backpacks at night, tested them on weekends. Weird life, looking back at it. The backpacks were good, though. Really good. I'd spent 10 years hiking before that, knew exactly what worked and what didn't. People noticed. REI picked up my first line in 2016, then Bass Pro Shops in 2018. By 2020, we were in stores across 27 states. Annual revenue hit $3.7 million last year. Not huge by industry standards, but it was mine. Every stitch, every design, every account built from nothing. I met Amanda when the company was already profitable, year 5, I think. She came to a trade show in Portland. She was working for an outdoor magazine, doing a feature on up-and-coming gear companies. Smart, charming, the kind of person who remembers everyone's name after meeting them once. We hit it off right away. First few years were good, really good. She seemed to understand my drive. Would bring dinner to the office when I was working late, even helped staff our booth at Outdoor Retailer when 2 of my employees got sick. She was really there for me, or seemed to be. Things changed when Summit really took off, when the Bass Pro deal came through, when we expanded production, when I had to hire a COO and start traveling more. That's when the comments started. You're working too much. It's like you care more about the company than our marriage. When's the last time we actually had dinner together? And look, she wasn't wrong. I was working 70-hour weeks. But this was what we talked about, what I'd always been working toward. She knew that from day one. At least I thought she did. After 6 years together, 8 years into building the company, I filed for divorce. Not because of the complaints, not because of the fights, but because I found out she'd been sleeping with her personal trainer for 7 months. The same trainer I was paying for. The same guy who was coming to our house 3 times a week while I was at the office. The same guy who, actually, you know what? The details don't matter. What matters is what happened next. Her response was immediate. I deserve half your company. You built it while we were married. Now Colorado is an equitable distribution state. That doesn't automatically mean 50-50, it means fair. But her lawyer, Stuart Fleming, had other ideas. From day one, he took an aggressive stance. My client provided the connections and stable home environment that allowed Mr. Carter to focus on his business endeavors, he said in our first mediation session. Without her support, Summit Outfitters would not exist as it does today. Furthermore, she actively contributed to business operations by representing the company at trade shows and offering marketing guidance based on her expertise in outdoor publications. I didn't react, just sat there, listened, made notes occasionally. My own attorney advised settling. Divorce courts often split businesses 50-50, he said. Even if you started it before the marriage, the growth occurred during your time together. She could argue that growth was due to her support. I refused. No, I said, we're not settling. The thing is, I'm not a confrontational person, never have been. Don't raise my voice, don't make scenes, but I'm also not someone who gets taken advantage of twice. What Amanda didn't know is that I'd kept meticulous records of every aspect of my business from day one, every expense, every investment, every hour worked, every decision made, including the $178,000 she'd borrowed from company accounts over the years. Stewart pushed hard in the discovery phase, demanded all financial records, all communications, all contracts, all customer lists, all vendor agreements, all intellectual property documentation, everything. "We need to establish the true value of the company," he said, "and my clients' contributions to that value." I complied with every request, handed over everything they asked for. 11,183 pages of documentation, delivered in neatly labeled boxes, indexed, categorized, cross-referenced. While they dug through that, I kept working, kept growing the company, kept my head down. Amanda started giving interviews, small ones at first, local business journals, the untold story behind Summit Outfitters, implying she was the secret to our success, that her connections in the outdoor industry had opened doors, that her feedback had shaped our product lines. Stewart got bolder too, started mentioning the case to other attorneys. "Going to be a landmark decision," he'd say. "Redefine how entrepreneurial businesses are handled in divorce proceedings." I still didn't react. Instead, I went home, opened my safe, and took out the records, not the official company records, the personal ones, the ones I'd been keeping since the first sign that something was off, the ones that showed patterns no one else would notice. See, about 3 years into our marriage, I noticed small discrepancies in our accounts. Nothing major, a few $100 here, 1,000 there, could have been anything. Accounting errors, bank fees, forgotten purchases. I didn't think much of it at first, but I started tracking it, just out of curiosity, just to see if there was a pattern. And there was. Every time Amanda had a girls' weekend, there would be unexplained withdrawals from our joint personal account. Then, a few days later, a transfer from the company account to cover the difference. Small enough amounts that they wouldn't trigger any alerts, but consistent, regular, predictable. I didn't confront her, didn't mention it, just watched, documented, waited. Then, about 2 years before the divorce, an ex-employee reached out to me. She'd been our office manager before moving to Texas, said she needed to tell me something that had been bothering her. "Amanda asked me to process reimbursements for her personal expenses," she said you had approved them. When I asked for the approval documentation, she said it wasn't necessary because she was your wife. I did it a few times before I left, but it didn't feel right. I thanked her, asked for details, dates, amounts, descriptions, added them to my records, still didn't confront Amanda, just kept building my case, quietly, methodically, without emotion. By the time I filed for divorce, I had documented 178,347.22 in unauthorized transfers, reimbursements, and loans that had never been repaid, spanning 5 years, with complete paper trails, bank records, credit card statements, emails, text messages, everything. While Stewart was building his case about Amanda's contributions to the company, I was preparing to show exactly what she'd contributed, a steady drain on our resources. The hearing date was set for March 15th, 3 months after I filed for divorce. Stewart seemed confident, kept sending settlement offers that got progressively less ridiculous, but were still completely unacceptable. 40% of the company, then 35%. Then 30% with additional cash considerations. I declined them all. No counter-offers, just no. 2 weeks before the hearing, one of Amanda's friends, someone I'd always gotten along with, reached out to me, asked to meet for coffee. I agreed. "She's planning something," she said. "I don't know what exactly, but she's been meeting with people, former employees, competitors, suppliers, asking questions, looking for dirt." I nodded, thanked her, didn't show any reaction. "Aren't you worried?" she asked. "No," I said, and I wasn't, because I had nothing to hide. Every decision I'd made was documented, every payment authorized, every contract legitimate. You can't find dirt where there isn't any. The day of the hearing arrived. Stewart showed up with 3 associates and 2 paralegals. Amanda wore a conservative blue suit, hair pulled back, minimal makeup, the picture of a professional woman who had been wronged. My team was smaller. Just me, my attorney, and a forensic accountant. No entourage, no theatre. Stuart went first, laid out their case. Amanda had been integral to the success of Summit Outfitters. Her industry connections had opened doors. Her stable home environment had allowed me to focus on building the business. Her insights had shaped our product development. Her presence at trade shows had cemented our reputation. He presented emails showing her providing feedback on product designs, photos of her at company events, testimonials from industry contacts who remembered meeting her, a carefully constructed narrative of a woman who had sacrificed her own career to support her husband's dreams. Then it was our turn. I handed a single folder to my attorney. He handed it to the judge. "Your Honor," he said, "we'd like to introduce Exhibit A." The judge opened the folder, began reading. His expression didn't change, but he slowed down after the first page, started taking notes, asked a question about a specific transaction, then another, then asked Stuart if he was aware of these documents. Stuart looked confused, asked for a brief recess to review the materials. The judge granted it. When we returned an hour later, Stuart's demeanor had changed completely. The confident swagger was gone. He looked deflated. "Your Honor," he said, "in light of new information, my client would like to revise her position regarding the distribution of marital assets." The judge looked at him. "I believe that would be wise, Counselor." What followed was a complete surrender. Amanda dropped all claims to the company, agreed to a division of personal property that was actually more favorable to me than I would have asked for, even agreed to reimburse the company for disputed withdrawals, though the amount they offered was less than half of what she'd actually taken. I accepted, not because it was fair, but because I wanted it over. The judge approved our agreement, thanked us for resolving the matter, and just like that, it was done. Amanda left the courtroom without looking at me. Stuart mumbled something that might have been an apology as he passed. I didn't respond. 3 days later, the final divorce decree was issued. 2 weeks after that, Amanda moved to Portland. I heard through mutual friends that she was working for the same outdoor magazine where she'd been when we met. Life coming full circle, I guess. I threw myself back into the business, expanded our product lines, opened a new manufacturing facility in New Mexico, hired more people, grew our online presence. The company is doing $5.2 million in annual revenue now. Still not huge, but solid, sustainable, built on a foundation that can't be shaken. About a month after the divorce was finalized, I received a letter from Amanda's accountant, asked for copies of certain financial statements, said the originals had been misplaced. I had my attorney send them, didn't include a note, didn't need to. People sometimes ask if I'm bitter about what happened, if I hate Amanda for what she tried to do. I don't, truly. I don't feel much of anything about it anymore. Was I angry at first? Sure. Hurt? Absolutely. But those feelings don't serve any purpose, don't solve any problems, don't build anything worthwhile. What I learned from all this is that the truth doesn't need advocates, doesn't need emotional appeals, doesn't need to raise its voice. The truth just is, and when presented clearly, without drama, it speaks for itself. I still keep detailed records of everything, still document every decision, still maintain paper trails for all transactions, not out of paranoia, not out of fear, but because precision is a habit, because clarity prevents problems, because facts don't need interpretation when they're properly preserved. Sometimes I think about reaching out to Amanda, asking why she did what she did, if the money was worth risking everything we'd built together. But then I remember, the answer doesn't matter. Her reasons, her justifications, her excuses, none of that changes what happened. The company continues to grow. I'm seeing someone new now, taking it slow, being careful, but also being open to possibilities. Life goes on, business goes on. And if there's one thing I've learned from all this, it's that the truth doesn't need arguments when the numbers speak for themselves.